All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are on planet Earth. I'm talking to the whole Earth, but America first. You're going to learn things about this country that you don't know. Guaranteed. Guaranteed, because it's going to be the truth. It's not going to be lies. Okay? Other countries tell lies about us. We tell lies about other countries, and sometimes by not telling the truth, we're telling a lie about other countries. Anyway, this is Jeremiah Gunn Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for listening. I'm so glad you're listening. I'm so glad you're here. Come, let us reason together. That's all we can do. That's our only hope is come, let us reason together. We are in the middle of a great civil war, testing whether this nation or any nation conceived like it, and there weren't any, can endure. Existential. We are in a civil war. I'm broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the Civil War. I know what it was like to be in Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Texas, wherever you were. There were people that were in favor of America. They were in favor of the Union, United States of America, the United States of America. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, a republic, if you can keep it, madam, for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible. Keep trying. They keep trying. One party keeps trying, but with liberty and justice for all. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anyway, this is the Jeremiah Gunn Show. Trigger warning, it's the Gunn Show on the Common Sense Network. Common Sense. It's February, Black History Month. This is dedicated to Charlie Kirk, the prophet Charlie Kirk. This is a national treasure, the patron saint, a martyr. Is a martyr. You know, a lot of people are called martyrs that aren't martyrs. They're murderers. Just because they murder themselves along with other people, that don't make them a martyr. That word is reserved for special. Charlie Kirk was the first Christian martyr since Stephen, very early in the New Covenant, the New Testament. Anyway, this is Jeremiah Gunn, your undocumented expert. Undocumented expert is the best kind. An autodidact like Charlie Kirk, like all the men on Mount Rushmore, like all of the greats who have made the world a better place, not worse. Not worse. You know, they tend to have those people that, what did George Orwell say? That some ideas are so ridiculous that only an intellectual will believe them. Boy, ain't that the truth. Ain't that the truth? Huh? You got professors saying that men can get pregnant. Never would have thought so. But anyway, this is CSN, the Common Sense Network. And I'm sending this message out to fellow resistance, members of the resistance, broadcasting behind enemy lines, enemy territory, in the Civil War. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a languor monotonous. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a languor monotonous. That goes out to you men who are leading the resistance in the war on men and the Civil War. You don't say it's a civil war. Well, it is. Okay, let's explain it to you. Okay, all right. This is Professor Jeremiah Gunn coming to you in truth and love and peace. No truth, no love or peace. No justice, no peace. Okay. An important safety tip. I try to speak as fast as I can, but I'm not Ben Shapiro. I'm not an auctioneer. auctioneer. I can't do that. So if this is bothersome to you, go on your phone and speed it up, or your computer, or whatever, and speed it up. I love to listen to books at 1.8 or 1.75 or 1.5, depending on the narrator. But I'll try to talk fast, but I don't want to get all tangled up here. I'm not I'm not as dumb as I look, but that's not possible. But I'm not dumb. I have a lot of wisdom. You know, Joe Biden said he has a lot of wisdom. Whew. Okay. Man, I don't know who told him to say that, but he needed better handlers instead of puppeteers. So since it's February, let's continue with our theme here. Let's have the Black National Anthem. All stand, please. Thank you, Ray. What a icon. What a hero. One of my heroes. One of the great heroes of America. Talent. That comes from an album called True Genius. True Genius. He was. God bless him. That was awesome. So let's talk about the heroes proved, like he sang about just now. Think of the words to that. For heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. The guys who founded this country, the men who founded this country, you know the word father, the founding fathers. The word father means creator. That's beautiful, isn't it? Our Father. Okay. Anyway, I like George Carlin. I liked him. He said that George Washington's brother was the uncle of our country. A lot of people don't realize that. But anyway, here's an important safety tip. If I've been told my voice is mellifluous, I've been told it's monotonous. I don't want to put you to sleep unless that's what you want, then go ahead and use it in that way. But I just ask you in the morning, go ahead and if you work the night shift, whatever, when you get out of bed and you go to work, hopefully you listen. Okay. So let's get started here. We got a lot to cover. We are in the middle of a civil war. It's not new. It never ended. It never ended. It was perpetuated. So let's go through this about as fast as we can. In the beginning of our country, people will knock the founding fathers for not getting rid of slavery. Well, they tried. The Democrats, mostly located in the South, almost exclusively, led by South Carolina. Every one of these things is led by South Carolina. They walked out, and the other ones followed suit and so forth. So they basically, we had to say, look, okay, we'll leave your peculiar institution. They wouldn't call it slavery. They didn't have the guts. The Democrats didn't have the guts to call it slavery, so they called it something else. So then they walked out, and then they did a bunch of things that perpetuated slavery. Basically, they called human beings 3/5 of a person. Well, but they're kind of property, aren't they? No, not really. They're property. We can breed them, we can sell them, we can breed with them and sell the offspring. But they're kind of 3/5 of a person. Why? So that they can get representation in Congress. But for that, they wouldn't have had slavery. So Lincoln comes in, gets 0 Democrat votes. But before that, the reason he got into politics is kind of the reason I'm doing this. I mean, I want to say I don't like doing this, but Charlie Kirk, he was 32 years old when a terrorist, a tranny terrorist, took him out. He was 32, about the same age as Thomas Jefferson. Well, I've been studying America, this country that I love. I tremble for my country. I've been studying it and for twice that long, and just absorbing everything I can about it and what went into it, what's come out of it, and so forth. And so the Civil War. I'm not talking about some canned regurgitate, cooperate and graduate garbage that you're going to get from one of these seminaries, leftist seminaries, where you get you get ordained as a priest or priestess with just lies, just propaganda, garbage. Okay, so I'm an undocumented expert. I don't have that kind of stumbling block in front of me. I don't have that handicap. I can just tell you the truth, and I know all of it. So let's get it on, okay? So where were we? They create laws with Democrat chief justices and people, and they try to start the Mexican-American War, so they expand slavery. Did you know that? That's why Lincoln was against it. That's Henry David Thoreau and others were against it for other reasons. But you want to throw it in my face that Lincoln was against it because he knew that they wanted Civil War. When you look at, they wanted to perpetuate slavery. They wanted to go all the way to the tip of South America, Tierra del Fuego, and make each one of those countries slave states, so they could have. If it weren't for that 3/5 scam, that complete BS, bait and switch, they wouldn't have been able to perpetuate it. They would have lost. They didn't have enough votes. They tried to make Arizona a Confederate state. I mean, it came that far west, at least, before they were stopped. So they start a civil war. Call themselves Confederates. And basically, well, it was a war over states' rights, right? It was a war over states' rights. It was a
war over states' rights. That's what it was about. Lincoln didn't want to end slavery. He wanted to end. He just didn't want the Union to be broken up.
Well, yeah. This is the kind of games that people play today, and been playing them for just too long. These Orwellian, convoluted mind games. Well, it was about choice. The war was about pro-choice. The Democrats in the North and South. It wasn't over a compass. The Democrats in the North and South, they wanted to have slavery, and they wanted each state to decide. Okay, and as long as their states decided in favor of slavery, that's what they wanted. So it was about pro-choice. Pro-choice to do what? Okay, Robert E. Lee, what a great guy. Okay, goes off and I'm not gonna fight against my soil, my dirt. Okay, what a noble Christian, wonderful guy. Swears an oath to the United States, goes to West Point, does stellar there, and then Lincoln asks him to be in charge of the army when the Democrats broke away, and no, I can't go against my dirt that I was born on. So he's a traitor, and if it weren't for him, they probably wouldn't have lasted as long as they did. But he was a racist. The Confederates, the Democrats down there. Anyway, it wasn't about North and South. That all the Democrats wanted slavery to keep going. In the middle of the Civil War, they ran a guy named McClellan, who was a horrible general like Milley we had recently, and others, like a John Kerry type. He was a racist, and he ran against, the Democrats ran against him. Watch the movie Lincoln, you'll see that the Democrats in the North, they wanted the Democrats in the South to be left alone. So they were cool. They were fine with, just like today, they were fine with people being slaves. The only thing is today people, they want everybody to be slaves. They'll even import them if that helps their cause of power. They're real racists. I mean, flaming, outright racists, So the Civil War is going on. They run Lincoln thought he was going to lose. They run this McClellan against him. McClellan says, I'll give peace and I'll restore here's how I'm going to give peace and bring the Union together because I'm so smart. What an A.H. that guy was. What an arrogant, I don't know. Lincoln had to put up with these guys. He had to have a Democrat as his vice president to satisfy kind of the border states. He couldn't lose them. So he had to have Democrat generals politically because of all the Democrats in the North. The ones that were just fighting against him. He said, the enemy behind me is worse than the one in front of me. That's kind of like Patton said about the French. He'd rather have a Nazi army in front of him than a French army behind him. So this guy, these Democrats, they kept that thing going. They run this guy. So they lose. He thought he was going to lose. He wound up winning. The military carried, the guys who were doing the fighting actually voted like crazy for him because they got the chance to see with their own eyes what the Democrats were doing in this little civil war of theirs. They would have destroyed the country. They've been trying ever since we started with their walkout. But so they, they win the war. A Democrat popular actor kills Lincoln. Lincoln, who takes over? Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson basically undid every single thing. And by the way, Lincoln was bookended by Democrats from the North that were real cool with slavery. Like Franklin Pierce, he came from a place called New Hampshire, live free or die, as long as you're white. Okay, this is your history, Democrats. This is their history. Okay, don't say, well, I went to college recently and they told me there was a switch. There was a switch sometime. There was a
switch. They switched. Who's they?
Who's they?
They switched. The Democrats, they became like Republicans, and the Republicans became the...
Yeah, sure. Okay. I tell you what, I wouldn't... Somebody said if you came out of college and all you learned was no blood for oil, I would go back and ask for your money back because that's very pathetic. So they don't have to be challenged. They don't have to answer any of this. They just throw this crap out there. Yeah, there was a switch. So, no, there was no switch. Okay. So they basically kept the Civil War going for 100 years. How? Through Jim Crow and things like that. Jim Crow. Now, Jim Crow was a Democrat, okay? Look this stuff up, They were able to carry this thing all the way through to today, okay? So they carried the Civil War for 100 years by doing what Martin Luther King called nullification. They just kind of ignored the laws on the books. Republicans tried to send in National Guard. Does that sound familiar? So how is it that we're in a civil war today? Well, what are these states doing? This time they're wearing blue, okay? This time, that's the only difference. But a lot of our soldiers came from these blue states for the Republican Civil War that was trying to free the slaves and restore the nation. So, you ever heard of a thing called a sanctuary city? Have you ever heard of the term sanctuary city? Have you heard of Have you heard the term sanctuary?
Sanctuary city. We are a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary city.
Okay, so you're in charge of, where is that found in the Constitution exactly? You know, the Constitution says, Article 4, Section 4, it says every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. And if the people running it, the legislature and the governors, don't do anything about crime against the citizens of the United States of America, then the federal government has to. Look it up. There won't be a test on it, but we're being tested right now. So these guys go, hey, states' rights, guys in California, Newsom, he can't. What happened in California recently? Newsom was recalled. If anybody ever should have been recalled, Newsom should have been nuisance. He should have been recalled. And so what happened? Well, the LA Times, the Democrat LA Times, there's a black guy running against him on the Republican ticket, like Frederick Douglass, a brilliant man by the name of Larry Elder, who, gas and nuisance couldn't carry his shoes. And guess what happened? The LA Times runs a paper and says, oh, Larry Elder is he's the white face the black face of white racism. That's the LA Times. Pravda is Vestia, George Soros' propaganda wing. They want to keep this, they want to keep the Civil War, they want to keep the slaves as slaves, period, end of sentence. As long as they can do it through DEI or illegal migration or anything that'll keep them going. And the Supreme Court makes the same decisions that they've always made with regard to race. That's why it's so sickening to talk about precedent. The president is more important than precedent. They don't want to wrinkle their robes over precedent, but precedent's not very good. Is that Plessy versus Ferguson? Is that Dred Scott? Is that the Fugitive Slave Act? Is that the Three-Fifths Compromise? Is that your precedent that you're trying to defend? Okay, so is that gas and nuisance, is that his border? Or does it belong to all the states touching on him and going all the way to the other coast? Is it the United States of America? Or is it California? Is it Michigan and Minnesota or Mogadishu, whatever it's called today? Is that their border? Well, even if they're landlocked, if they're in and away from the border of Canada or Mexico, they fly people in, then I guess that's their border. And I'm living here, equal protection under the law. If I'm living in their state, I don't have rights. I don't have rights to a Republican form of government, which we'll explain on another show. But it has to do with this being a republic, not a democracy. Big flocking difference, okay? We the people versus we the sheeple. So they say, hey, you know what? We don't have to obey Washington. We don't. And who are they? New York, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, Michigan. Douglas Murray, brilliant. He said that Joe Biden's two-state solution is Michigan and Minnesota. Bill Maher was sniveling about this on his podcast, that they're yelling death to America in Michigan. Okay, some of those people in Michigan went over to Desert Storm, Afghanistan, whatever, and they became interpreters. So there's some good Arab. Some of them are Muslim. There's some good people there, but here we are. Here we are with people yelling in our own country, and we got a bunch of Somali pirates in Mogadishu, Minnesota. And I guess Tim Walz and Fry, the mayor, I guess they just think that, they're telling the Union Army, get the F out of here. What's that? If that isn't a civil war, If that's not a civil war, they can deny half of their citizens the right to equal protection under the law, the right to a Republican government, and just say, well, that's not the country's border, that's my border this week. Then, if that's not civil war, there is no such thing. So, who started it? I've had people tell me, don't say it's a civil war. Don't say it's a civil war. That's what they want. Then they're going to start. What are they going to do? Hit you with their hoodie? They're cowards. They're poltroons. Newscomb can work some kind of a deal. He's tapered down his sign language. The fruity sign language that he does, he's tapered it down because of a handler image consultant told him that really grosses people out and it's cringeworthy, which it is. But so he goes to Tom Homan, who's a federal officer, decorated by blah blah with a medal for doing a great job. He tells him, "Come and arrest me, tough guy. Come and arrest me." He'd probably like to have handcuffs put on him. The area of the country that he was reared in, yeah. But come and get me, tough guy. He should have. I don't know what Trump's waiting for. But if this isn't a civil war, there is no such thing. People arguing that, well, you know what? A few of us here want to dictate policy for the rest of us here in the state, and we don't care about the Constitution. We don't care. We don't care. They're tyrants, and They kept the Civil War going for 100 years through nullification and other things, and then they did the Great Society in order to get them really addicted. Somebody said that it's like heroin. Welfare is like heroin. The first shot's free. And even FDR, a communist, he said that he worried that all of his welfare and his socialism insecurity, he worried it would become a narcotic. Did you really worry about that? Did you lose much sleep? Or just a wee little bit? Because you tried to pack the Supreme Court to make sure that all the communist 3-letter acronyms went through. Now it's a topic for another program, but now the Democrat Party is communist. So now it's the Cold War folded on top of the original revolution against tyranny and taxation without representation. People in California have had taxation without representation for decades. For decades. And that's what we're founded on, and it doesn't matter. See, this is why states' rights, that's okay, but there's a constitution that governs everything. The reason Lincoln didn't want the South, the Democrats that lived in the South to break away, the Democrats that lived in the North and West, or whatever, they couldn't care less. Let them have their slavery. That's what they eventually got through to General Grant. I mean, how many men did he lose that made him weep, freeing the slaves, and then here comes Andrew Johnson, Democrat, and just, whoosh. And then we'll cover it another time. But Woodrow Wilson, biggest racist we've ever had in there. No question. He was a fascist, a socialist, a racist, progressive. Just wrap it in that name. But what did he do? He showed D.W. Griffith's movie. Oh God, what's that movie called? It's the one about the Klan. It's basically an homage to the Klan, like Gone with the Wind. Did you know Gone with the Wind is an homage to the Klan? The KKK? A Democrat institution. Grant got rid of them. He whooped them in short order. Andrew Johnson kind of put it all back in place. And Woodrow Wilson, Birth of a Nation, that's it. I think it depicted blacks with tails like monkeys. And really the story of Birth of a Nation is what heroes, what white knights the KKK was. Woodrow Wilson screened that. He also resegregated D.C. Previous Republicans had desegregated it. He put it back. All right. JFK met with Martin Luther King and told him, I don't know anything about Negroes because I'm from Massachusetts. And then he puts in LBJ. And you know what he did? I mean, it's on record. He basically said that was the switch. Ooh, there's the switch. He basically said, you know what? If you can't beat the Republicans, then own them, own the slaves, codify that, make them slaves. There's a great book called Uncle Sam's Plantation, written by a woman who really knows. Her name's Star Parker. She started a charity to an outreach program to help black people that are on Uncle Sam's Plantation. So that's what she called her book. Go ahead and read it. If you care. Black Lives Matter. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's the Marxism of the Democrat Party talking. Look that up. Yeah, that Marxism is an old trick, divide and conquer. Get everybody fighting and pretend to be in favor of this group or that marginalized group or whatever until you're done, until you've won. So we'll pick it up again, but just tell me. You tell me. That's not a civil war when states say they don't have to obey the Constitution. That's what Lincoln wanted. He wanted the Constitution made whole because he knew that Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, they did not belong to the people there. They belonged to everybody here. That's why we can go over there. When the Founding Fathers made this country, they intended that it would be one nation. One nation. Like Franklin said at the time, we either hang together or we hang separately. We would have been picked off. Worse than that, we would have had a lot more slave states. We might have never been able to get rid of it. So thanks, Democrats. Thanks for doing all this to us and being our enemy since like day one. I don't care if that hurts anybody's feelings. I mean, have I become your enemy because I've told you the truth? Well, my dad was a
Democrat.
My dad was a Democrat too. He was a communist too. Sound familiar? We'll talk about that another time. Where how is it that you can be one party but then run for their party? All they want is power. That's all they want. That's all they want. There's a communist party in this country. There's a socialist party. There's a green party. And there's a peace and freedom party. Just run as a communist. Maybe we need an Islam party, a Sharia law party. But, this guy, Mom Dummy, he can go in as a Democrat. And Bernie Sanders, BS, and Pocahontas, these guys can be AOC, they can be communists, Marxists. And since they control everything from cradle to grave, K through 12, colleges and universities, graduate schools, the media, entertainment, this you probably heard this warning about the, country club Republican Dwight Eisenhower said, beware of the military-industrial complex. Well, I'll tell you what we got today. And you can't deny it, even if you're Bill Maher. We've got the government, education, mediatainment complex, and it's basically the Democrat Party. So because they own government. Look at how they went nuts when Department of Education was being threatened. I mean, this is insanity. Pounding the podium like Khrushchev. They're crazy. They're crazy. So, what we have today is not what we were supposed to have. So it's been screwed up and it's been flocked up by the flock. And it's we the sheeple and not we the people anymore. So we got to get a reset. We got to get back to it. But in the meantime, the war of our adolescence, the war that, made us either be a nation or not is still going on. Never ended. Never ended. 1763, 1863, 1963. And by God, I hope it by 2063. I hope it's done. I hope we win. I hope that America, the Constitution, wins in the hands of the Republican Party. Because you tell me who else is fighting for it. All right. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Send me your comments and questions, concerns. You can't refute what I'm saying. You can gritch about it, snivel, whine, and quote somebody somewhere that I don't know. I hope you didn't pay for that degree because it's not the truth. So if you want somebody to lie to you, it ain't me, babe. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for listening. Let's win this war. You know, why aren't we fighting? Why aren't we fighting it? I see these citizens, just one more thing real quick. I see these people, you know, it used to always bug me when I would drive down the street and I'd see some guy pulled over and he was in a nice car and respectable middle-class looking guy or woman, and they're just in the cop's face, I guess over a traffic ticket. But they're really bitching at him. I'm thinking, wow. You know, there's one of the great philosophers, Socrates, I think said, Aristotle said, what we teach to children, we do to society. So anybody who sees him having so much, you know, go to court and fight it, you know, report the cop, you know, if it's a bad ticket. But man, this disrespect for authority like that. I mean, and so what do you see now? You see these women, these awfuls, men and women of both sexes, trying to fight against. I saw one the other day, was an old fart lawyer. He's fighting. He goes and tries to pull a cop off of a illegal migrant who's resisting arrest, and he gets pushed to the ground, and he's shocked. And everybody, all these banshees come around. These awful banshees come around, screaming, blowing their whistles, screaming, F-bomb, F this, F you, F and F with the F and F. I mean, they think that's power? I mean, I read about that. Scott Adams, the brilliant Scott Adams, talked about that in the 80s, that profanity is power for women. I mean, are you kidding me? That you're going to go around, it's actually illegal to use F-bombs in public. Don't they have children? They have family? I guess not. I guess their cat doesn't mind if they say that. But why aren't we fighting for those guys? I mean, I know a guy who's on the Border Patrol. He was a ranger, and now he's Border Patrol. He volunteered to go to Minnesota. But you know, why aren't the police grabbing those people for interfering with an arrest? Well, the police are busy hiding themselves or hiding the aliens that ICE is coming to get. I mean, are they going to give back our money? We pay for them. They swore an oath. But some mayor comes along, like or Tampon Tim or somebody in Newscomb, and says, "Oh, we're not going to support the federal government. Civil War. We're not going to support the government in their rightful execution of the law." You know, that's not America's border. That's ours. That's why Newscomb can invite the premier of China to come and take a tour and then clean up San Francisco for the tour, because it's not really his country. I mean, California's his country. He'd like to be president. It's just nothing but ego, ambition. But you know, does he have a right to do that? If he does, then the Civil War, we should never have fought it, because they have a right to do whatever they want within their state, as long as a little over half the people are okay with it, or think they are, or don't know why they poke a hole in the letter D or blue. No idea. Blue no matter who. So anyway, I'd like to end fascism. I'd like to really end it. You know, Churchill said the fascists of the future will call themselves anti-fascist, anti-fascist. They're the ones who are trying to destroy our Constitution, defund the police. You don't have to defund the police if they hide and say, well, the mayor told me what to do. I saw the chief of police and sheriffs or whatever in Portland. He was crying because he had to turn in an alien gangbanger, Trendeago or whatever. I'm sorry. Newscomb was saying that I'm sorry I used the word gang. I didn't mean to use, standing in the middle on the corner of Crips and Bloods, and I'm sorry I used the word gang. I shouldn't have said that. And his sign language person is trying to keep up with him. Like what? Anyway, if the states have the right to do whatever they want and forget the Constitution, then it's a civil war. So don't tell me don't say that, don't start it. No, it started. It has never ended. Thank you, Democrats. So why, this is the last thought, a congressman put forward a bill that they had to change their name because it's so filled with shame. It's so full of shame. FDR, who put us on heroin and destroyed our country morally in that regard. He gave away half of Europe for 50 years to Uncle Joe Stalin. Good old Joe. He liked him. He used to go to meetings with him privately and leave Churchill out of it. And Churchill was really worried about that. Churchill's the one who coined the phrase Iron Curtain. So, the Democrat history is so tragic, so horrible. We're going to talk about the best and worst presidents, but you can't just yell the word democracy like Timmy Kimmel or Bill Maher or any of these people. I mean, John Leibowitz Stewart, he called frickin' mom dummy. He called him Jackie Robinson. I mean, where are the black people to go after him for that? He has no right to do that. A self-loathing Jew in New York. How can he do that to an Islamo-Nazi communist, statist, collectivist? Really? I don't know. Maybe I was absent that day, but two countries that gave a lot of trouble. Soviet Union, Russia, Soviet Union, and Nazi Germany kind of had a little bit of a dust up with the Jews. Do you know Leibowitz? Or you don't care, or you don't know? Either one is bad. Either one will get you. It's called Gray's Law. Look it up. It's a corollary of Hanlon's razor. Anyway, thank you for listening. See you next time. And go in peace and truth and love. No love, no truth, no peace, no justice, no nothing. Thank you again. Thank you for listening. Take care, everybody.